Namaste nerds, this is Navina, the Budget Pub Stomper, and today I'm going to be doing a slight deviation from the standard here. We're not going to be putting up a budget deck tech. I'm going to be answering the question or any of the many forms of the question, what is the best budget competitive deck, or what are the best budget competitive decks, or what deck should I build at $100? And this question breaks down to a lot of different questions, but I keep getting them. I keep getting them in the Discord, and I keep getting them in the comments of the videos. And so I wanted to, well, I thought I'd already done videos that had answered the question. Turns out I scoured my videos and I actually haven't done. And so I'm going to do that now. So you could be asking the question, if you're talking about what's the best deck or what are the best decks, you could be asking, if my opponents are all playing CEDH, what can I get into cheap and feel like I'm in the games? That's one question. Or you could be saying, hey, I'm going to a budget competitive tournament. What should I take? And those are different questions with different answers. Or you might be saying, I'm going to the LGS. I'm sick of being stomped out by these $500, $600, $700 slivers decks. Is there anything I can do at $100 that will allow me to compete with those decks? And that's kind of the that's yet another question. And I'm not going to separate those questions out and answer each one individually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the list of decks that keep coming up whenever, like on the Discord, this conversation comes up. And we're going to talk about them all kind of in those different sets of context, if that makes sense. So one deck that always, I think literally always comes up when this question arises is Magda. And so Magda has to make this list. I think she's S tier. I think she's one of the best things you could be doing at a budget event for $100 Moxfield low. If you were going to go to a tournament, this is a fine deck to take. I think if you actually had to sit into a CEDH pod and take a $100 deck, I think you're not going to win 25% of the games, but I think with a $100 version of Magda, you could be in the games and you'd probably win some. Don't take it to your proxy friendly tournament, but if you did have to play a $100 deck into a CEDH tournament, then this would be a good one. And another thing you might be asking, or people might mean when they say, what's the best $100 competitive deck to build? They might be asking, look, I'm getting into CEDH, where should I start? And this would be a good place to start too, because with Magda, you could ride this all the way into the top tables of CEDH events. So Magda, and maybe we'll come back, if we have time, we'll come back and take a look at some of the reasons that Magda's inexpensive and the things that make Magda so powerful. Moving on, $100 budgetist bro. So this is a version of the old bro storm decks, the Selvala creature storm decks. It's a very interesting deck. It's very fast. Now this is a little bit of a different version of this is going to answer a different version of the question, what's the best things I can do at $100? Because I mean, you could build this up into a full CEDH deck, and you could do fine. I've seen people do it. Morrowind, Selvala. These will win games in CEDH pods. In fact, I have this exact list in paper, and I've sat in CEDH pods and actually won games with the deck. Or, well, recently I've won a game with the deck, but I've only played a couple. So this is a deck that can at least compete. Now, the thing is you're going to run into the ceiling a little bit quicker with this deck than with like a Magda. But it's a very powerful, very fast deck. If you're playing in a budget competition, or if you've got a pod of opponents at your LGS that are just very proactive and they think that they're going fast and they're just going they're not CEDH players, they're playing high-powered decks, and they think that, or maybe they're playing budget decks, and they think that they're playing on $100, so their turn 5, turn 6 wins are going to be good enough. If they're not super interactive, you ought to be able to take this deck into those pods and make sure that they don't get a turn 5, realistically. I would be remiss if I did not bring up my favorite. This is what at one point I thought, I still preach the gospel of Malcolm Kettis. I think this is a broken, busted, crazy deck to play at $100. I started this video 2 days ago, and this was under $100. I just saw that it popped up to $100.61. I'm not going to mess with it. It's 61 cents. But there are some cards that have really gone up recently. One of them is Ophidian Eye. Thanks, Vivi. Vivi's real, Ophidiani's real, and it's real expensive now, but don't cut this from your Malcolm Kedis deck. Slap the Ophidiani on your Malcolm, put the Kedis in play, and you're attacking every turn for 3 treasures and drawing 3 cards every turn, every combat. And beyond that, we layer in Niv Mizzet combo, where Ophidiani is going to win the game with your Niv Mizzet that you can tutor into play with your Magda, or you can just crack 6 treasures for, well, some number of treasures and tap a couple of lands. So now, years ago, I would debate people. There was a whole group of people that were pretty well like in the know when it comes to CDH and budget CDH in particular, who were completely convinced that Malcolm Tana was the very best thing you could do at $100. And I disagreed adamantly, and I still think I was right at the time. I mean, the mana base was so terrible. Like, they were having to play tap lands to get down to $100. This was years ago. It was like when all the cards were going crazy high expensive, and we didn't have all the reprints, and we didn't have the host of inexpensive but good tutors that we have now. So I don't think it was the best deck then, but boy, if somebody wanted to make an argument for Malcolm Tana being the best thing you could do at $100 today, I mean, you do still have to put a chunk of money into the mana base to make it work. I put $11 into my version, but you can just get there now. Now it's like turn 1, Dork, turn 2, Malcolm, turn 3, you're either Glinthorn Buccaneering, or you're tutoring it into play, or you're tutoring it into your hand so you can go off next turn. It's interactive. It's real good. It's real good. In this one, I think I was able to cut the Ophidiani because here we have Tandem Lookout, Keen Sense, Curiosity, and you've got more a lot more creature tutors. We've got Imperial Recruiter and Drift of Phantasms and Eldritch Evolution, Bring to Light, Court of Calling, Shared Summons. We've got tons of tutors to find our Glinthorn, and Malcolm plus Glinthorn just generally equals GG's. What else? Buck Bonder. Kinnan's busted, guys. If you didn't know, Kinnan is a broken magic card. I had to use this dumpy, stupid-looking version of the Kinnan card to get down to $99.94. This was one of the decks that crept up on me, but I was able to modify it a little bit to get it down back under $100. No harm, no foul. We're still playing Birds of Paradise. And with this deck, you've got Jasper's Sentinel and Sentinel Stalwart that are effectively turn 1 Birds of Paradise. You play your turn 1 Jasper's Sentinel, you go turn 2 Kinnan, and then you can, on turn 2 with your Kinnan in play, tap the Jaspera, tap your Kinnan. You're not trying to attack with Kinnan anyway. Make 2 mana and get your stuff going. You know, maybe, I don't know. Play a thing, play a Mana Rock, and then tap it for 2, or play your Mirage Mirror, get ready to put your win together. Here we're able to do a pretty good land base for $3.06. If we have time, I'll talk about how this deck actually wins, but the thing to note about Kinnan is it's a mana engine, and it combos with Basalt Monolith. You have a one card infinite mana combo with Kinnan and, well, with the Basalt Monolith. 1 card with your commander. And it's good in the early game. It's fast. Like if you look at the video primer I did for Kinnan in the Goldfish hands, like the part 2 of the video primer, I think you'll see more turn 3 wins, just goldfishing, with Kinnan than maybe any other deck on the channel. Maybe aside from Marwyn. I think Marwyn was like 4 out of 5. Turn 3 goldfishes. But the thing is that that's not even what Kinnan is supposed to do. I mean, just because you can win with the deck on turn 3 doesn't mean you ought to. I mean, sometimes you ought to. But the deck can win fast. It can get infinite or just tons of mana and start flipping nasty, and I mean nasty, threats off the top of the deck, like Terastodon, Thorn Mammoth, Nezahal, Coma. Any one of these cards can just totally take Hullbreaker Horror, which can actually go infinite mana and win the game for you too, under the right circumstances. Any one of these cards, Ornn Frostfang, can kind of take over the game, and you can flip. So you've got a grindy mid-range plan. You've got a control deck that it's very interactive, lots of removal, lots of counter magic, and then you've got tutors to find your very easy win condition. Your Basalt Monolith plus any way to wash the mana. Like a Basalt Monolith and a Stonework Pack Beast means you've won the game, or at least you're threatening to win the game. And we've got room for tutors to find our Basalt Monolith, or tutors to find our Mirage Mirror, which will also wash your mana without being a dead card, and it's only 46 cents. So this is Kinnan. Definitely in the conversation for best things you could do at $100. Now, the next one is going to be a deck that I'm not as sold on. I mean, I know it's good. I don't think it's in the same league as, at $100, I don't think it's in the same I don't think it's the same power level as Magda or Kinnan, or even the Malcolm Red decks, or even Budgetist Bro, Selvala. But a lot of people do, so I might be wrong, and I certainly have lost to this thing with all of my budget decks many times. So the deck is no joke. It's very good. It's very good. And at $100, it's going to play out very similar to what a CDH version of the deck would play out as. You're just going to go turn 1, unblockable threat. Turn 2, you're going to drop your Yuriko into play, cheat it into play. You're going to hopefully flip something big and nasty off the top, like 11 damage to each opponent. So you've got all kinds of spells that have a very high CMC that you're not actually going to be spending that much mana on. Your Flare of Denial is going to be free. Your Commandeer, you're going to pitch a couple cards, which your commander draws cards like nobody's business. You got the Delve cards, these big 11 mana things. Like I think I said, the Flares. So Misdirection. You're playing all these big CMC cards. So because what Yuriko does is when you hit with the ninja, and Yuriko is a ninja, but lots of the creatures in the deck are also ninjas. When you hit with the ninja, you flip the top card of your deck, and whatever its CMC is, it deals that much damage to each opponent, and then you put that into your hand. So it's an advantage engine. It's like a card draw engine, effectively. And it's a clock. And in my version of the deck, I leaned really heavy into that. There's no combos in this deck. We are really just playing control pieces, and we're playing stacks, and some of the most damning stacks pieces. If you're in a deck that can play Cursed Totem and Grafdigger's Cage, and the ninjutsu abilities are not creature abilities. They're not activated abilities of creatures. They're like special actions or something. So your ninjas function perfectly under a Cursed Totem. Nobody else's decks, especially the $100 decks, work worth a shit with a Cursed Totem in play. Grafdigger's Cage, kind of the same thing. Shuts off so many decks, doesn't shut your deck off a bit. And we even had room in the budget to play $7 worth of lands, and we're still only at $95. And I got a Grim Hireling in here too, which is $13.68. But it's so good in the deck, guys. It's such a good piece in the deck. And then we've got these other stacks pieces, like your Notion Thief and your Narset, which sort of also act as A plus B combos with Windfall and Whispering Madness, sort of. Not hard combos, but so when you have control pieces and you have stacks, and then you just present a clock that's also an engine, that's a pretty good recipe for a pretty damn good deck. So I'm not saying it's not good. I just don't know I'm not just talking about my own personal feelings. I'm actually giving you the list of decks that tend to come up whenever these conversations tend to come up, and they have been coming up often recently. So decided to do answer the questions in video form. So we had just a couple days ago, somebody came in and came into the Pub Stompers Discord, Stomping Grounds Discord, specifically asking, I think it was, my opponents are all playing super high-powered decks. What can I do for $100? What's the best thing I can do? Some version of that question again. And we went through all of these decks, but we never talked about a Protean Hulk deck. And I think that is, we missed the mark on that. We ought to have brought up Protean Hulk decks, because Protean Hulk is very inexpensive right now. You've got, and Golgari has like the best removal in the budget format. So Dina is just representative of like Grist and Viral's Hulk, but it's the one that I know I know for sure. I've seen events where Dina has won, so I know this is a for real threat in the $100 budget space, and it just kind of makes sense. So what Dina offers is two things. It offers an additional 1-card combo. I say additional because Protean Hulk is a 1-card combo for any Golgari commander that can sacrifice a thing. And Dina does it for 1 mana. That's not free, but it's not that bad. So if you can get your Protean Hulk in play, either by putting it in the bin and then reanimating it, or just putting it into play with your dorks and your rituals and your elvish spirit guides, you've got tons of mana in the deck. If you can cast the Protean Hulk and then you can sack it, you win the game on the spot. This deck is using Lesser Masticore, Malira, Disciple of the Vault, and either Carrion Feeder or Viscera Seer. So we sack the Lesser Masticore, it comes back, and it's supposed to get a neg 1 counter. It can't because we've got Malira in play, which means we can sacrifice it again and again and again with our Viscera Seer. And since it's an artifact, Disciple of the Vault is going to ping out the table when you do that. And that totals up 1 mana, plus 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4, and I missed, okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your 6 mana, so the Protean Hulk assembles that combo for you. And aside from that, we've got, and Pattern of Rebirth also acts as a 1-card win con. Final Parting can become basically with your commander a 1-card win con. Takes a little extra mana. You've got to have Final Parting, commander in play, 6 mana, and then plus 1 or 2 for the reanimate effect. But then you've got Exquisite Blood. Exquisite Blood is $23.50, but this shell is pretty inexpensive. I think probably we'd want to see if we could do anything about this land. The land base actually doesn't look that bad. I don't know. We've got like $7 to spare. Seems like we left something off on the table. Do we have Birds of Paradise? Okay, so that's what we do. We would take out something and add Birds of Paradise, and that would get us up to that $100, almost just shy of $100. There's backup piles too. We can talk about the Blood Artist, but we're not doing a deck tech here. But this is your list of some of the best things you can do at $100. Magda, what makes it great for the budget is it's 1 color. It's playing a bunch of things that nobody cares about. So because it's 1 color, you're not going to spend a fortune on the land base. We have a bunch of utilities in here, and we're still only at $3.50. And it's a mana engine, so it's not concerned with the spendy mana rocks that most CEDH decks want to play. And we're using a bunch of cards that are very good in this deck and very good nowhere else. So that means that the calculus between supply and demand just tips very much in our favor. No other deck cares about Dwarven Blood Boiler, you know? No one's talking about Legacy All-Star Enslaved Dwarves, right? Or Enslaved Dwarf. But in this deck, and even the main win condition, Clock of Omens, it sees, I don't think it sees play, well, yeah, it might be in a couple decks, but it's not in very many decks. It might be in like some fringe decks. It might be in some artifact-centered one-ring decks, maybe. Oswald Fiddlebender might play, I don't know. But it's not in many decks. And I guess we'll talk about what the deck does, actually. So since we've got a little bit extra time, Magda just says that whenever a dwarf becomes tapped, you make a treasure. One of your dwarfs becomes tapped, you make a treasure. And then it also says you can sacrifice 5 treasures. Notably, they don't have to be untapped treasures. That's important. So you can you make a treasure every time a dwarf you control is tapped for any reason. And then if you sack 5 treasures, you can search your library for any dragon or artifact and put it directly into play. So the main win line here for the 56-cent commander and Clock of Omens for $1.12, and then literally any artifact dwarf, and that can be a dead dwarf that you Dermotaxi, it can be a 1-mana dwarf that you hit with Ashnod's Transmigrant, turning it into an artifact. It can just be an artifact changeling, like Universal Automaton is both a dwarf and an artifact. So let's use this as a simple example. You've got Universal Automaton, you've got Magda in play, and you've got Clock of Omens. The Clock of Omens is going to allow you to tap 2 untapped artifacts. One of them is going to be the Clock. One of them is going to be the Universal Automaton. So you're going to tap both of those to do what? Well, Clock of Omens says you can tap 2 artifacts to untap an artifact. The artifact we're going to untap is the Universal Automaton. Okay, so when we tap the 2 artifacts, one of them is a dwarf. So Magda says make a treasure. So a treasure just came into play, and now we're untapping the Universal Automaton. Now we have a treasure that's untapped and the automaton that's untapped. Those are both artifacts, so we can use the clock to tap both of those to get another untap. When we tap both of those, we're going to cause the Universal Automaton to tap, so that makes a treasure, and then the untap trigger goes on the automaton, which untaps the automaton, so now we've got a treasure that's untapped and an automaton. So we keep doing that, and we make infinite treasures. All of them will be tapped except the last one, and then once we've got infinite treasures, we can sack 5 treasures at a time to get any artifact or any dragon from our deck into the battlefield. There's tons and tons of different ways to win the game from that point. Maybe you're going to tutor out Bark Form Harvest. Well, here, we'll say probably the simplest one. We'll get Academy Manufacturer. That's going to be our first artifact we bring into play. Once that's in play, you can keep going through your loop, making the infinite tap treasures, but now you're going to make a clue and a food every time you make the treasure token. So then you can start tapping the food and the clue instead of the treasure, so you're going to make infinite untapped treasures. Then you're going to sack 5 of them, and you're going to get out your Skargan Halkite. Did I keep Skargan? Yeah, right here. You're going to get this guy into play because it's a dragon. So now you've got infinite mana, you've got a Skargan Halkite in play. Skargan Halkite has the ability, pay 4 mana, deal 2 damage divided among 1 or 2 targets. You're going to burn the table out right there. Or there's stuff you can do with Bark Form Harvester, where you're just going to keep using a Pyrite Spellbomb, burning 1 opponent for 2 damage. Use your Bark Form Harvester, which is an artifact dwarf, by the way, to put the Pyrite Spellbomb on the top of the deck, tutor it out again with Magda, and then use it over and over and over to burn the table out. Lots of ways. Your imagination sets the limit. I've got a buddy that's playing a version of this deck, kind of a high-powered deck. Not competitive exactly, but it's pretty damn good. I've sat with that deck in CDH pods and won with it, but his main win condition is Jester's Cap. He's regurgitating a Jester's Cap to basically just take all of his opponent's cards out of their deck. Budgetist Bro, this is real simple. No, it's not. It's probably the most complicated deck. So basically, we want to go turn 1 Dork, turn 2 Selvala, turn 3 Big Beefy Boy, like a 3 mana 8/8 with some crazy cumulative upkeep that you're not worried about. This is going to ETB and draw a card off of Selvala's first ability. Whenever another creature ETBs, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than every other creature in play, and yours will be. So we cast that turn 2 Selvala, turn 3 Phyrexian Soul Gorger, Hunted Troll. There's tons of them. Big old dude, undercosted big old dude. And then you're going to tap a land and tap the Selvala to make, 8 mana or whatever. I mean, it could be Galta and 12 mana. Hunted Troll, 8 mana, sometimes 6. Maybe you'll have something that's 6 mana, but you'll hit it with one of these Phyto Burst type spells and make it 11. And then you're tapping your Selvala for 11 mana, which is going to allow you to cast a Tooth and Nail Entwined or a couple of tutors. But the Tooth and Nail Entwined takes any 2 creatures, puts them into play. Maybe we get, just something to go infinite. We go Temur Sabertooth and Hyrax Tower Scout, or a Shia plus Quirion Ranger. Some way to make infinite mana, and then we just need a way to outlet the infinite mana, and a lot of times it'll involve you using the, somewhere along the lines, grabbing a, what the hell is it called? Ewit. Where's Ewit? Eternal Witness, and then you're going to cast the Eternal Witness to bring the tutor back out of your graveyard into hand. Cast the tutor again, find your Temur Sabertooth or your Kogla the Titan Ape so that you can keep bouncing the Eternal Witness to hand, recast it, and do any number of shenanigans. Once you're doing Ewit loops, you can blow up all of your opponent's things with Beast Withins and then bounce your Kogla to hand and replay it to blow up all of those 3/3s that you left behind. Or you can just like bring out every creature that you have, put all of them in play, infinitely buff them up with Fido Burst, and then flip your Ulvenwald Oddity to give all your creatures haste and trample, swing in for lethal. One Bin's Booty. The idea here, this is a mid-rangey deck. I mean, sometimes it'll just win the game on turn 3 or 4, but usually you're looking to set up an engine. And then you've got, so your Malcolm and your Kedis are a mana engine. If you put any of your curiosity effects on them, it's a mana engine and a card engine. Now, usually there's going to be a bottleneck in one of your decks. When you're playing a deck, you're going to have a bottleneck of either mana or cards. Now, if you don't have a bottleneck of mana and you don't have a bottleneck of cards, then you don't have a bottleneck and you can just do whatever you want. That's basically it. And usually that's going to involve just finding a way to get Glinthorn Buccaneer into play. If we've got our Malcolm and we've got our Glinthorn, we are threatening to win the game on the spot. Malcolm says that pirates, when they deal damage to opponents, make treasures. Glinthorn Buccaneer lets you pay 2 mana, discard a card, and ping everybody. And it is a pirate. And so you can crack 2 treasures to, or pay 2 mana, however you want to do it, to discard a card and ping everybody, making 3 treasures. Then discard a card and draw a card, that is. Then you're going to use 2 of those 3 treasures to do it again and again and again and burn the table out. Or you're going to use a hack combo. You're going to use any one of these Reckless Fireweaver effects. Whenever an artifact you control enters, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Luckily for your opponents, it's not a pirate, right? Because if it were, it would go infinite with Malcolm. But unluckily for your opponents, we have Image Crafter and Amoeboid Changeling. And 2 or 3 other ways. No, there's like a ton of other ways to turn your creatures into pirates. Once you've effectively turned one of your Reckless Fireweaver effects, I think I'm running 3 in the deck: Ingenious Artillerist, Reckless Fireweaver, Sunshot Militia. There's at least 3. Once one of those is turned into a pirate, all that you need to do is make sure that a artifact ETB is on your side of the battlefield and you win the game. Or you put a Curiosity on a Niv Mizzet, or you get both your Niv Mizzets into play. Or really, if you get either of your Niv Mizzets into play, which you can do with Magda, cheating them into play. Niv Mizzet Visionary is nasty in this deck. I mean, you're doing a lot of pinging and burning and lightning bolting and Ghostfire Slicing, and it just draws so many cards. It's crazy. Or if you combine it with Niv Mizzet, you win. And also, it gets triggered off of Kedis, so you're drawing a ton of cards. What else? So I don't think we need to go into this one too much. I basically just explained all the same ways you're going to win. You're going to win the game with those same combos with this deck. You're not going to have the mid-rangey, grindy stuff quite as much, but you are going to have a more, I don't want to say fast, a generally faster clock. You're very, 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 very often in both these decks, you're going to go turn 2 Malcolm. Virtually always. But with this deck, it's damn near always. And then you're going to just find a tutor to put your Glinthorn into play and win the game. And we've got backup combos. We've got in this deck like a Reckless Fireweaver combo. I'm not playing all of them. And Niv Mizzet. But mainly, we're looking for a tutor, which we get the green color identity, gives us tons of tutors. Especially in Year of Our Lord 2025, we've got a glut, just tons and tons of them. And we've even got some ways now to utilize our Tana. I'm not going to get into that. Let's keep this thing moving. Where are we at? Okay. Buck Bonder. We already kind of talked about this a good bit. I don't think we need to go too far into this one. You need to find a way to go infinite mana. And the main one is just find your Basalt Monolith. But I also included in this deck Hullbreaker Horror, which if you can find your Soul Ring. We've got artifact tutors. You can go infinite mana with that also. And we've got Devoted Druid, I think. Yeah, Devoted Druid with Machine God's Effigy will also go infinite mana, infinite colored mana. And so once you go infinite colored mana, you're able to activate Kinnan's ability over and over and over, putting all of your creatures into play, and then winning the game with something that looks a little bit like what you do in Selvala. Or you just go infinite mana and get your Beast Whisperer in play. And then just bounce something up and down over and over to draw your deck. And when you're drawing your deck, or just find Drown in Dreams. We've got tutors for it, or you'll just draw into it. Drown in Dreams, if you have infinite mana, even if it's colorless mana, you just need 2 blue. You can pay 1 blue and infinite colorless mana with your Basalt Monolith to hit yourself with Drown in Dreams, draw your deck, while milling 1 player out. And then, since you've drawn your deck, you will find ways to wash your mana. You will find your Eternal Witness to cast your Ewit to pick the Drown in Dreams back up, and then target both of your other opponents with it and mill them both out. So we're a mill deck. We're a Kinnan mill deck. I did have to get a little sneaky with some of the lines. If you're interested in how this deck really performs and what it does, there's some really cool lines. Some of them I came up with myself, or more or less myself. But basically, we want to find infinite mana. We want to be able to turn it into infinite colored mana. And we want to win the game that way. Ninjas, we already talked about the clock. We already talked about this. Guys, I think that's it. I think I've made this video 2 other times already. Once I deleted it because I didn't like the way it turned out. And the other way, I got to the very dead end of a 45-minute version of it, and the whole thing just shit out on me. So before that can happen, without further ado, guys, that is my list of some of the best things you can do at $100, budget competitive. Word to your mothers, east side until the day that you die on the west side. Peace be with you. May the force be with you, not you. Namaste, nerds.